Right, greeting guys. Today we are going to be looking at the inequality. How do you deal with an inequality and what is it? So learning intention is that what I want to do today is to explain the various symbols for inequalities. Also, I would like to explain how to solve and represent inequalities on a number line. You guys at the end of this lesson should be able to know the four symbols for inequalities. You should be able to solve simple inequalities, which is simple linear inequalities. And number 3, you should be able to represent your solution on a number line. Right, now we want to look at the symbols that we use in inequalities. So when we're dealing with the equation, you see that an equation has got an equal sign in it. So, and with inequalities have got 4 symbols or 4 signs that we use. We've got the smaller than sign, which points to the left, and then it's an arrow pointing to the left, and we've got the greater than sign, which is an arrow pointing to the right, and then we've got the smaller than or equal to sign, which is an arrow with a line beneath it pointing to the left, and then we've got the greater than or equal to sign, which is an arrow pointing to the right. I hope you get to know these symbols and use them appropriately or correctly. Now we're going to be looking at solving linear inequalities. How does an linear inequality look like anyway? So here is an example of a linear inequality. So you will see that this one is an example of a linear inequality. We call it linear because the highest power of the variable there is a 1, right? So now this inequality, you can see that it can be true for some values of x and it can be false for some values of x. So now when we solve this inequality, this is when we find which values of x makes this inequality a true statement. All right, so that's when we say we are solving. Now we can also use our methods which we learned how to solve equations with to solve inequalities, but when we divide or multiply an inequality with a negative number, the sign changes. This is very important, and that is what differentiates an inequality from an equation, right? When you multiply with a negative number, the sign changes. Right, now we're going to look at the inequality given in our introduction. There we are going to solve for x. When solving for x, the solution for this is that we are given that 3x plus 2 is greater than 17. So what we do is subtract 2 from both sides. We get 3x is greater than 15. We divide both sides by 3 and our solution will be x is greater than 5. And we can represent this on a number line, right? So what this means is that the arrow means excluding 5 and anything greater than 5. So excluding 5, and we're involving anything greater than 5. And this kind of a number line, we use it when we are dealing with real numbers. Now let's look at example 2. Negative 5 minus 3x is less than 13. We want to solve that one. So what we are going to do, we add 5 to both sides. We are going to get negative 3x is less than 18. Then we divide by a negative 3. So very important here, moment we divide by a negative number, the sign changes from smaller than to greater than. So please take note of that. Very important. Divide by a negative number, the sign changes. So our answer now becomes x is greater than negative 6, and we can represent this on a number line. So it's again real numbers. So since we are dealing with real numbers, again it's going to be negative 6. We put a circle which is not shaded to show that it's all the values to the right of negative 6 excluding negative 6 itself. Example number 3, you are given half of open bracket 1 minus 3x is greater than or equals to x all over 3 minus 5. So what we do first here is that we find the LCM, of which in this case LCM is 6. We multiply both sides by 6. Half multiplied by 6 is going to give us a 3. So we multiply both sides by 6. Half multiplied by 6 is going to be 3, open bracket that, and then x all over 3 multiplied by 6, it will be 2x, and then negative 5 multiplied by 6, it's a 30. right? Moving on, so we simplify, we remove the brackets. 3 minus 9x is less than or equals to 2x minus 30. We group like terms. Negative 2x minus 9x is less than negative 30 minus 3. We simplify both sides. We're going to get negative 11 is less than or equals to negative 33. And then now we are going to divide both sides by a negative 11. So as we divide both sides by a negative 11, please pay attention again, because when we divide by a negative number, what happens? The sign changes. Take note of that. It is very important. The distinction between an inequality and an equation is that when you divide or multiply by a negative number, the sign changes. Now, our answer here will be x is greater than or equals to. So now this is different. It's equal to, so the circle, we don't leave it unshaded. We have to shade it because we are including 3 itself, because the sign says x is greater than or equal. So we shade the circle to show that 3 is included in the solution. Right, example number 4. Now you are given an inequality 5 all over x is less than 2, and to solve it, first thing here, because we've got a fraction there, we are going to find the LCM. So the LCM in this case, it's an x, so we multiply both sides by x. 5 all over x multiplied by x, it's a 5, less than 2 multiplied by x, it's a 2x. Divide both sides by 2, it gives us 5 all over 2 is less than x. We can write it as a decimal. 2.5 is less than x, which you can represent on a number line. 2.5 is less than x. So x is anything on the right excluding 2.5 itself. Right, guys, there we go. Now, can you please go through all those questions? You've got even more questions in your textbooks for practice, but go through these ones in particular and we will discuss them on our group, our WhatsApp group, or on Edmodo. Those are the platforms where we can discuss this. I hope you guys understand it. If you don't, please replay the video so that you see where you get lost. Okay.